All right, welcome everyone. Tellor Tech Call,
What's up?
February 11th, 2020. So first, we'll just kind of go over the basic news to give you guys the lay of the land. We'll do basic news kind of on development, talk a little bit about the bounties, the alternate chain piece. Then we're going to do a little talk on inflation, which should be exciting for you guys. Then we'll go in and deep dive into your questions, which we have quite a bit again, which is great. So the basics on development, we did 2 minor releases over the past week. All of them were very, very minor. One helped, the pool was crashing if your electricity went out. So we did some updates to help that. We've done a few other things to just kind of help with some of the logging messages. And then we did some changes if you're running the disputer. So those are some of the issues that we've addressed. So there was also an issue this morning. Your miners, a lot of the miners had some issues with the Bitfinex APIs. We're going to actually work over the next week to implement some fallback values for all of the PSRs. So those should help mitigate just basically it's nothing dangerous to your miner. You're just going to get, it just really makes your logs awful whenever like Bitfinex's APIs fail. So we're really going to be working on some of those. That's kind of the next week development piece for me. ETH Denver is coming up this weekend. I'm working on a fun project to release to you guys. That's a surprise for next week though. Once I actually code it up and finish it. So the pool, for those of you who may be watching this for the first time, you can now mine Tellor without depositing 1,000 tokens. And the way to do that is you mine on a pool. Basically, you mine helping them with their 1,000 tokens. And the pool's actually been killing it. So the pool just continues to kind of beat its daily record. You know, right now they're getting pretty close to being consistently in like every block, which is awesome. So I think we will have to pretty soon start keeping an eye on it to make sure that the pool doesn't get larger than all of the other miners, and then you have centralization risk with the pool. But it's cool, you know, it's because the pool and the way it's being run it's very open. You know, if you go over to Discord, you can look at the mining channel, you know who's in the pool, you know who's running the pool. It feels very much like a community, which is a great thing, and we want to keep it that way. You know, we want our miners to be community members. We don't want them to be people who are just sort of pointing hash power at the system and going away. So yeah, having those pieces in. And also, if you're interested in starting your own pool, reach out to me. You know, we'd love competing pools. I know eventually other pools will start getting on board, so maybe some of the more traditional mining pools. But if you think you might want to give it a try, let us know. It's a little bit of development work and management work, but it's a cool thing. So the other piece, so a lot of people have talked about, you know, you guys have seen Tellor wants to say move to other chains, and Tellor wants to start building on these other pieces, and we do. And that's, so there's a repo currently in our GitHub that is going to allow us to put the Tellor system on other chains. And the way that this works is we're going to deposit tokens on these other chains and set up a system where reporters will be reporting values directly to those chains, values that were requested on those chains, and it won't actually affect the Ethereum piece, which is really important. And one thing that we've noticed, so, you know, a lot of you guys have given us great suggestions as far as people we can partner with on this, because there's a lot of different chains. So some of the chains that we've had conversations with that we really like, so there's Matic, there's Harmony, there's Cosmos. We had a call with Echo Protocol. There's a lot of these different chains, and there's even some more. But the thing that we sort of need from you guys, because whenever you launch on one of these chains, it's a lot of maintenance work. It's making sure that the miner works, making sure that there's enough security on there. There's going to be a lot of things that you need to do once it shifts over there. So we definitely want to make sure that when we go over there, we're going to get used. We want to go to the chain that has a use case for us. So whenever you're talking to these chains or whenever you're looking into these chains, there's really a few requirements. The main requirements that you should ask are they live? So like if they don't have a mainnet release yet, like it's really nice and we can talk to them about what we would need to go over there, but a whole lot of, even if they say they're releasing sometime in the next 6 months or within the next year or something like that, like just don't believe people in this space. You cannot believe people in this space. So that's definitely one thing that you want them to be mainnet. And the other thing, is there a user for us over there? We want to go places where there's people who need data and we can give it to them. So, I know you guys know that we're trying to find projects to adopt us, and we want to get people actually using us. We don't want an empty partnership announcement of somebody who says they're going to plan on using us. We want people actually using us, and we'll help them develop these solutions. We'll help them build things that make sense. But we, help your guys help identifying these projects and getting them to move towards Tellor is definitely something we want. So next thing, bounties. I'll put the link again. If you guys are a front-end React developer, I'd love to talk to you. If you do front-end development and you want to earn some tributes, hit me up. But there's a lot of bounties on other things: articles, videos, Solidity code, front-end code, Golang code for our miner, anything you guys could possibly want. So now, this is the big piece of today's discussion. So this is on the inflation piece. So we are actually proposing a change to the Tellor monetary policy. So I'd actually share my screen, but I don't think I have it up at the moment. So we're going to be releasing a document after this call to where we're going to lower the inflation rate. We've had issues in the past, or not issues in the past, but we've had a lot of concern from parties in the past that the inflation rate is really high. And it is really high. Currently, the Tellor inflation rate is 145% per year. But that was sort of expected. So we grow at a constant rate of about 3,600 tokens per day. And the reason is that the reason you have a high inflation rate is because we started at 0. So if you go from 1 coin to 2 coins, that's a 100% inflation rate, like in that block. So your annual inflation rate is going to be astronomical. Whenever you start really low and you're just doubling, the total supply is going to be doubling every year. If you're printing at a constant supply, what that actually means is, so the total supply at the end of year 1 is actually going to be doubled by the end of year 2. So you're going to have 100% inflation until after year 2. And this is really high. We want to lower this just because what we're doing right now is we're giving a lot of inflationary rewards to miners, which is great. It's a great way to just sort of distribute tokens. But now what we're going to shift is to lower the inflation rate. What we plan to do is basically just fast forward to where the inflation rate is a little bit less. And what this does is it actually puts it more in line with more of a traditional monetary policy in the crypto world. And we think it better aligns incentives to sort of grow forward. You don't have to sort of absorb the entire token supply worth of new coins every month. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to be reducing the block reward. Right now, each miner gets 5 tokens every block, we're going to reduce it gradually over the next year from 5 to 1. So that's a giant reduction. But what it's going to do is in 1 year, so say we started on March 1st, in March 1st of 2021, we'll have an inflation rate of about 17%, which is still relatively high compared to, the 3% that the US currently has, but it's much more in line with what you would think of as a traditional inflation. So, parties who look at the total supply and who look at kind of the tokenomics they don't have to do quite as much math whenever it comes to predicting how this relates to the total supply. So that is kind of the big inflation piece that we're going to be pushing through. So long story short, this is still just proposed. So let us know kind of your thoughts on it. I think it should be relatively straightforward. And the other piece, so we're also changing another piece as well, and that's the quorum. So for disputes, if you want to push through an upgrade in the system, you need a 20% quorum. We're reducing it down to 10 just from some discussions with other projects and how much voter expectations we can have. So that one is relatively minuscule compared to the inflation piece. So we'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on it. But ultimately what this should do is it should drive kind of a stronger narrative forward for just how much value does a Tellor token hold, and how does this relate to, how hard it is to break your network. And we think it should help actually drive adoption and investors into the Tellor ecosystem. So yeah, for a very political answer. Anyway. Okay, so that's the big thing. We'll be releasing that document right after this call. Let us know what you think. And then I think we'd target, it's almost minimal as far as coding it up. So we'd want to get, if you're a Solidity developer, we'd love to have you kind of audit what we do. And we'd also love to have you guys, just let us know what do you think of it. And if you do have other, kind of keep us on track with doing it and with making sure that it's secure. So now I think that's about it for that. So we'll move on to questions.
Yep.
I'll answer. There were a few right here.
Sure. Yeah, start in the chat. And if you have any questions about the inflation stuff, just please wait until we send the document out, because that should answer a lot of questions in the document itself, our thought process behind why we're excited about these changes. And I'm sure over the course of the next week, and maybe next week's call, there'll be a lot of questions about it.
Yeah. But yeah, happy to answer them. So now to move on to the many, many questions that you guys have submitted. So the first question, kind of out of the Zoom call, what about partnering with Band to combine strengths towards decentralized oracles? So this goes into the ADO, the Alliance of Decentralized Oracles. We do talk with Band, we talk with several other Oracle protocols, and we want to work with all of them. We're working right now on an EIP. We're all going to get together out at ETH Denver to talk about how we can sort of have just kind of a medianizer contract of decentralized oracles. So if you ask for the ETH US dollar price, you get a median of, say, Band and Witnet and Tellor and any other oracle that wants to be a part of it. And what that's going to do is now, instead of the security of the price feed being just reliant on Tellor, now you have sort of a full-scale decentralization. You're not even relying on just one, and that's going to be super cool. So,
well, let's say you're a DApp and maybe you're not too familiar with the differences between Tellor or Witnet or Band, and you just don't know, but you want to get your app up and running. This will allow you to seamlessly and very simply implement them all, or switch between one and to another. So we think this will really help with getting users integrated with us very easily.
Yeah, and the other big piece is just having an EIP. An EIP is just a standard. So we're creating a standard for oracles in the space. And what that means is that whenever you're building your DApp, so let's say you're building a derivatives protocol, or you're building some stablecoin, you can code it all up and then decide what oracle you're going to use later, because all the oracles are going to sort of fit into this standard way to read them. And that's going to enable quite a lot in the space, because now if you want to use Chainlink, or you want to use Tellor, or you want to use Band, like, you really have to get in the weeds of how to integrate with them and how to, what functions do I have to read, and if you want to switch, you have to really redeploy all of your code. Whereas now it'll be super easy to switch, super easy to kind of plug and play. Next question, Tellor is compatible with blockchains using their own technology other than the EVM. Yes, so that's the cross-chain piece. We're going to be able to move onto other blockchains. Not all blockchains. It's not like we're completely chain agnostic. Other blockchains have to, kind of the prerequisites are, you have to have a bridge, a token bridge from Ethereum to your chain. Most of them do. And then right now, all of our alternate chain structure code is written in Solidity. Most of them allow Solidity for smart contracts over there, but there's a few that don't. So we'd have to sort of work on that. It would be a little bit more work if it wasn't. So on to the user questions, Mike.
Okay. First one's a doozy. When Binance?
Thanks, guys.
That one.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to just exchange listings, you know, we're focusing on just kind of getting a great product and getting actual users. The exchanges are going to come. You know, we've gone from literally being listed on no exchanges to quite a few that we're on today in like 3 months. So other exchanges are going to come. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Exactly. Do you look at synthetics with envy because of your experience with Daxia?
Yeah.
This is a good one. There's a short answer and a long answer, I'm sure. I would say no, we don't look at them with envy because we were building something like philosophically very different with Daxia.
Sure. Yeah, so synthetics, for those of you who don't know, they do a derivatives protocol themselves. They do long and short tokens for, I don't know what they would, I don't know their tagline as far as what they call them.
Right.
But they've done really well recently. But I think there are some sort of design flaws in synthetics that leave it open to risk. You know, they require basically finalized oracles every 5 minutes, which can be very, very tough on Ethereum.
3 minutes.
I think they try 3, okay. I believe. And then, but they're doing really well. They also, you know, they also require crazy amounts of collateralization. Like it's like 750% over collateralized on the things, which as a former derivatives guy, like it's just a ridiculous amount of collateralization, which, you know, I'm shocked that I'm always shocked in the space. The space is so over collateralized. I can't believe any of it. A lot of that has traction just because it's so inefficient, but I guess it's cheaper than you would think. I don't know. But synthetics, I think we can learn, a lot of projects can learn a lot from synthetics and the way that they're doing things. So, you know, in my mind, when I think of synthetics, they were a really great story of somebody who made something out of nothing in a lot of ways. So they had Haven, which was their original project, and they were trying to do stable coins, and it really didn't take off. Like you can even go back and look at some of their token price, and it was almost a dead project, considering what they had raised and how low their token price got. And they sort of redid their monetary policy. They redid just about everything in their system, and they got some success with that. And I really respect them for that, because it was, you know, they knew what they had. They figured out something that worked and did it. So kudos to them for doing that. I hope we can push them more in line with being truly decentralized. But yeah, no, they're doing some cool things in the space too. So next question.
Why'd you name the project Tellor?
It's on you.
Sure. So an oracle is a data reporter. A synonym for reporting is telling, or to tell. So, I mean, it's really that simple. We envision these oracles are telling the blockchain some piece of off-chain data. And the OR is also, you know, I guess short for oracle. And it sounded nice.
Yeah, I think we picked the name for Tellor back when it was still like just a code repository in Daxia.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't. We never thought it was going to become the full company
No, I
until
know.
well after we had decided the name on the little thing. So anyway, next question.
Fun fact though, the Tellor man is the original Tellor logo in his face with his mouth.
The Teller Man is the thing that I post on.
Oh, that's what we call it. I don't know if the community knows it as Tellor man, but yeah, like the
YouTube guy that I post with all of his outfits.
yeah,
So.
the screenshot cover. Anyway, next question is, so Binance invested and got 10% of the dev share. When does that kick in, and what does Maker get?
Maker 5. I believe Maker's 5%.
No, but Maker didn't get any of the dev share.
Oh yeah, so Maker is not dev share. Maker is equity only. Binance gets the dev share; they get 10%. We're currently sending it to them. We send it to them once a month. An address that they gave us. Yeah, don't know.
But yeah,
we don't know who at Binance is taking all of our tokens. Somebody is.
Right to CZ.
Yes, CZ's personal account.
Any thoughts on Ban redoing its token economics?
No.
I have no thoughts on that. Yes. I have to dig into that.
I do not.
That's news to us.
So yeah, please send us some info.
This is an interesting one. Is Mike ever bringing back the goatee? So you must have been a viewer of the Daxia podcast.
Oh yeah, I sent that to some people.
To see that goatee. I don't know. I don't grow a good goatee at all, and my wife hated it. But you know, maybe next no shave November, I'll bring it back. Thanks for asking. Top tier exchange listings are seen as a mark of quality. When Binance lists a coin, outsiders translate that as Binance is saying this coin is good. Third-party seal of approval. Agree or disagree?
Sometimes agree. I mean,
I definitely agree that speculators and traders see it as a stamp of approval, but it's definitely by no means. I mean, I think a lot of us probably have experienced buying coins on Binance that didn't do well and weren't good projects. So it's not like a slam dunk that you're on an exchange.
Yeah, and a lot of times you look at, so you can go look at like the coin market cap of say a project that got listed on Binance or that gets listed on one of these, not even an IO, like that's already going and then goes and gets listed on an exchange. And sometimes there's a big pump, but a lot of times there's not a big pump.
Or it's definitely, if it's a pump, it's a short-term pump.
A lot of times they're shorter term and it's not the slam dunk you necessarily think it is. And then the other thing, you have to weigh it with kind of the cost benefit of it. So, you know, if say listing on Binance, you get an extra $1 in your coin. Okay. Like, is that worth a listing fee of $100,000?
For us,
right. Yes. For us on a dev share, probably not.
It'll take us all year to sort of make up for that.
Right. You know, and the big thing is like in the long run, like, yes, you know, yeah, you just sort of have to weigh how much things will help, how much, you know, and for us, like we have a lot of exposure to the Binance community already. You know, it's not like a lot of, usually you want to get on exchanges and get into places where they haven't heard about you. All of their users are, you know, you're this new thing that it'll all of a sudden bring some new traction to your project and you'll get actual users. But if everybody there already knows about us, it might not be anything. You'll just get a little bit more liquidity.
So you've heard this from us several times, and you'll probably continue to hear it from us. But we're going to be conservative with it. We think we're moving in the right direction in terms of how things are going with us in exchanges, and I think you will see in the end it'll be, you know, our strategy will be the right one. So Nick has said that liquidity is a non-issue because if someone wants to buy a large amount of tokens, then they should move the price up. But doesn't this unfortunately also work in reverse? So by that logic, constant miner selling of inflationary rewards should move the price down. And this is ultimately bad, not just for retail speculators, but for the team's dev share and for growth and adoption of Tellor.
Yeah, and that's why we're sort of addressing the inflation piece. I'd say, you know that miners are going to be sell pressure, and that's okay. That's a distribution method in a lot of ways, but we are reducing that to a better amount. But yeah, no, you don't want some of the big, like when it comes to liquidity, like liquidity is, selling is information. So if you can set, like if you sell 5% of the total supply, like you should move the price downward because that's 5% of the total supply dumping. Somebody really doesn't believe in Tellor because they're dumping it. Or if somebody wants to buy 10% of the supply, it should move the price upward because that's like market moving information. If you have like a team that funds both sides to keep the price even or something like that, it's just, on these projects, I'm working on an article. I'll release it maybe next week or something on liquidity, but really early stage projects, there's a lot of asymmetric information. So some people know a whole lot about what's going to happen and they can move in advance. So if you're actually, you want the market to be able to move quickly to some of these small things. If you have basically a more static price, that would assume that it's very fairly priced and all of the information is out there in the open, and that's not always the case with smaller companies. So lots of problem with, crypto is really a giant experiment in this sense, because no other place do you have such instant hyper liquidity of nothingness, like of an idea that these projects have, and now all of a sudden they're hyper liquid and you're able to trade them around. Like before, you would have venture debt or something that would have to be locked up for years and years and years before it could get liquid, and by that time the project had to comply with all these SEC rules and put out all of its information, and they weren't allowed to do insider trading, and we just completely got rid of all of that. So it's a giant experiment, and I think it's still almost too early to say it's even a good thing. So,
but look forward to his article. One cherry I'll put on top of that is that, you mentioned by that logic, this would be bad for the team's dev share and for growth and adoption. Like we are very, very, like our priority is to use the dev share to fuel growth and adoption of Tellor first and foremost. And if we funnel too much of that out towards something like liquidity or listing, then we think that can harm growth and adoption. Or it should be not the number one priority to use those funds for. So it's not completely unimportant, but again, just our focus is on what's the smartest thing to do here.
Sure.
Next question, what happened to the community moderators? So we've had, over the course of Tellor's existence, we've had a couple volunteer moderators. Nobody
and they come and
official,
go. Yeah.
and they come and go.
If somebody wants to be a volunteer moderator, let us know.
Yeah, for a while we had Sleeth did an amazing job as a volunteer for a while. I think he's still sticking around the community, but he doesn't do too much modding or adminning in the channel. But we've also grown a lot with just you guys being really active and helping out.
And great job, guys.
Yeah.
I know we're sort of, the channel can get a little chaotic here and there, like whenever the team's asleep. So if you guys are up then and you want to be an admin, we'd love to make an admin.
And as far as paid admins go, you'd be surprised because we get a lot of quotes and they're ridiculous.
Yeah, so we're not going to pay for admins.
Would you guys want us to pay $2,000 a month for someone to do?
You guys are doing
things?
great.
I think we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Shield the old Daxia podcast, guys. It was lit. Did you ever upload it to the Apple Podcasts? Actually, when I was looking into doing that, is when we also decided that we were too busy with Tellor to sort of focus. Like the Daxia podcast was awesome. It's a ton of work, and I think we're toying around with the idea of
Maybe we'll bring it back at some
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Uh,
So thank you for listening. I think some of these episodes are still quite relevant. How much certain are you that Oasis will be integrating Tellor?
I believe they mean Oasis Dex,
That's what
which is Maker's Dex, and they don't. I don't even think they need a. I know Maker needs an Oracle, but not. I don't think Oasis does. So anyway,
So not
let us
much
know.
certainty there.
Yes.
So George Cow or
Yes.
Sal, is it? I don't know how to pronounce it. CEO of BitMax tweeted the
We
following
should-
about Tellor. DeFi is one of our focus this year. Please feel free to ask the team to contact us, et cetera, et cetera. I'm open to discussing as long as it's a mutual beneficial relationship. Will you guys reach out and keep us updated? So,
Sure.
we have the people we're talking to aren't the CEO of BitMax, but yeah, I'm curious to see if those guys have seen this tweet. I'll reach out to them about it.
Yeah.
Any updates on Claros or PegNet or any other projects we could possibly collaborate with?
We introduced them. They're in the auto now.
Yeah, PegNet is in the auto, and I'm going to be meeting.
And Claros joined last week too, so
Claros.
they're in our group. So we're all going to meet up at ETH Denver and talk about ways that we can work together. So yeah, I mean, what you guys have to realize, like we actually move insanely fast for a project. Most other projects, it goes like, I'm not picking on Claros or PegNet. I actually don't know anything about them, but most other projects, you have like 5 meetings and then you decide what you're going to work on and you put out an announcement.
And you're like, let's convene 3 months.
Yeah. And then, like anytime like you even start developing it, like you're like a year away from launching it.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these things, just especially when it comes to collaborating, it just, we're doing our best to push it forward, but they just take some time to get out the door.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely are pursuing and having the collaborative discussions with these projects. It's just, again, we don't want to do meaningless announcements. We want to announce when something really tangible exists. This is kind of along the same lines about our plan to get integrated to some DeFi projects.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the same thing. We are constantly in relationship and in discussions with the projects that we can fit into, or and new projects that we are exploring if there is a fit. And again, some projects it's a slow moving space, and but believe us, we're in conversations constantly. Can data requesters use multiple Oracle solutions? Synthetics is working with Chainlink. Couldn't Synthetics use Tellor too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the thing would be is like how fast will it update? So Tellor is necessarily slower, so you could use Tellor every once in a while and Chainlink to fill in the missing pieces if you need it a whole lot faster, or you could use so it would just be sort of a speed and redundancy issue. But yeah, a lot of that has to do with, that's why we're building these AIPs. So it's really easy for people to standardize and use multiple oracles.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And you've always said that sort of our vision for the future is probably these projects are going to be utilizing more than one oracle, which is why we started the auto too. We saw this as a logical next step for, it just seemed like a logical thing to do. And so, yeah. Can you elaborate on how you were working with ThorChain? We kind of swerved the topic last time.
No. So I've reached out to him. I think we set up a call in the future. So one of these, so we're gonna have a call.
We have nothing to tell you. Nothing
to tell you guys yet. So I know that. So but I also know they're not even launched yet. So like what we could do is that they do liquidity pools. So we could have a Tellor liquidity pool through ThorChain. But we sort of have to wait for them to launch, and then I don't think it would be hard to sort of create it with ThorChain. So yeah, it would be cool.
Realty platform could use a high quality decentralized Oracle for housing market. How can we get a meeting set up? They can use Tellor. Do you know this company?
I don't know.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, we'll look into them. We'll reach out. So,
hi Nick, will you guys handle the future bull market? Mike, I mean, we'll ride the wave with all of you. I can't wait. Surf's up.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, it's cool. We're over 10,000 for the first call in a long time.
Yeah, I've been saying all week, the rising tide raises all ships. So, that'll be really good for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, the best possible thing that could happen for like Tellor to just make sure that we sort of do well and have runway and interest is like Bitcoin goes to 30,000.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's one of those things, like just it brings in new people, it brings in new projects, new people building, just kind of keeping the interest in crypto alive. Like, if you have a giant bear market where Ethereum goes down to $20 and everybody thinks it's dead, then VC money dries up for people trying to build projects and, new people in the space. Like, that's really why Ethereum took off in my mind, was just like after 2017, you had so many people who made so much money that they were reinvesting it back in all they knew, which was more Ethereum projects. And you had, now brand new VCs who were fully crypto focused, were willing to give money out. Like we have Maker and Binance and Consensus have all given us money. Like, those are people that made money from crypto and investing it back in new companies building new things. So the more just the general crypto prices go up, the more they'll be putting it back into new projects that will need new decentralized oracles.
And the whole space is going to be so much, you'd hope, you're going to be much smarter this time around.
Yes.
They're going to be, it's going to be smart reinvestments investments in projects. And we like to believe that we're a smart investment, a good project. So
right.
Anyway, will we get Brenda in a future AMA? I think he means, or she means, like a call like this. We'd love to have her. For those of you that were on the call before we started recording, there was a Brenda sighting. I don't know.
Yeah,
she waved.
We actually just Brenda and I were just on the Inner Access podcast this morning.
That's true.
So you won't get to see Brenda, but you can listen to Brenda and I on a podcast, which I think they said next week.
Yeah,
I'll be releasing that. So yeah, so you'll be able to.
If you guys don't follow Inner Access on Twitter, give them a shout.
They do education on DeFi. So yeah, it was a good one.
Will you recommend people to start mining Tellor? Do you have an estimate date until when we can mine Tribute with GPUs? So this person's maybe not up to speed.
You can do it now.
You can do it now.
Yeah. So.
And I don't know if we have an official recommendation. We would have. It really depends on how many GPUs you have.
Yeah. There's just go on Discord and ask them for the pool calculator, or
if it's profitable for you, mine Tellor.
Yeah, so there's a few calculators out there. I don't know how accurate they are, but it's so. We got a question here too. Do you guys think the dominant miner in the pool is a risk to decentralization? They aren't in the pool. Sorry. Yeah. So there are. We've gone through many cycles of non-decentralization in the miners, or a few miners will sort of overtake, and they usually last for a while, and then the difficulty goes up and it's a new guy. But I think with you, it's so hard. Like, it's not really a problem for decentralization, especially at this point, because if they lie, they're going to get disputed. So you're not going to get a bad value up there. So it's just like, how long could they possibly break the system for? And yeah, I mean, it gets really expensive really fast, and it could be a problem for decentralization, but especially now, like, what are they going to do? They're not really breaking a whole lot. So if they prove to be malicious and have multiple addresses all set up to break something, then that could be a problem. But right now, they're behaving, we believe it's a single miner. But yeah, if you have kind of, the big danger would be like all of the GPU power in your whole system is malicious actors. So then if you dispute them, the whole system goes down or something. But that's probably not the case, especially since the pool's doing so well.
Follow up.
Yeah, can you explain where the miners get their price from? Do they share that data source? Yes, you can go look. It depends on what request. So each block is an ID is requested. So request ID 1 is the ETH US dollar price, and that's actually an average of 3 different exchanges. You can go on GitHub in the Tellor miner repo, and there's a file called PSR, and that has a list of where they're pulling their prices from. So happy to walk you through that anytime though.
Does your focus hit the Chinese market too? We're beginning. We've done an AMA on WeChat. They use WeChat. They don't use Telegram. From what we've learned, our community member Key is our Chinese moderator. He runs a Tellor fan club on WeChat. I don't know how to give you guys a link to that, but ask Key for that. He can get you in there if you are on WeChat and you are Chinese or can read Chinese. We have an AMA coming up at some point soon that was delayed due to the coronavirus thing with Real Satoshi, who's a big to-do in the Chinese community. So yeah, we're trying to break into that. We know it's a big world out there. How would voting process work for governance of Tellor? Let's say a vote to reduce inflation rates.
Sure. So the way that
the quorum, basically.
Yeah. So there's a quorum piece in there. So it would go. Somebody would propose it, and then there is a for this thing. I believe it's a 2-week-long vote on whether or not we should. And you can go. The miners have an ability to run this, or also in Tellor Scan, there's a way to vote on there. But yeah, we would make it nice and easy for you guys. We'll give you examples if we ever need one, or you can vote yes or no. And right now there's a 20% quorum, which means 20% of all the tokens in supply have to be in favor of it. So 20% difference. So like if 10% are say no, then you need 30% yes in order to pass, if that makes sense, because 20% is the difference. We're reducing that quorum down to 10%, just so that way we can make sure that we can upgrade in the future. But it's just basically a 2-week-long vote of token holders. And yeah, we monitor that. Somebody else said, have you tossed around the idea of adding a different algo for CPU miners to make them more competitive? No, we haven't. You could. The big thing is with mining in general, you want it to be difficult. You want it to be decentralized as well. But you also, the goal isn't to be getting as many miners in as possible. Like you have to look at what is the purpose of mining? Is it so you have as many miners as you can that you're distributing these tokens to, or is it that you have a nice high difficulty, so if somebody wants to attack your system, they need to spend a lot of resources to go break your system, and that to us is the goal, and designing around that piece. If we thought that having different algos or something could do that, it's also hard to do different algos for CPU or GPU since we are built on Ethereum, so it's not like we can tell. So
staking for investors, please. That's a
yeah. So this goes into just the same exact answer. Like if we're going to having staking just to have staking doesn't make any sense. You want to have a purpose to stake. Like like right now the miners have to deposit a stake so that way we have something to slash if they lie. Staking just to force people to lock up their tokens for a period of time so that way they don't sell them, or so they're getting some reward and not doing anything. Like that doesn't, like paying people to hold isn't necessarily what we're trying to do. We're trying to, if we find that staking is somehow can be used to create more security in the system, or
do some cross-chain thing,
then it makes sense. But just just having staking, I know a lot of protocols in the space they just add ridiculous staking requirements, and they have high inflationary rewards if you stay staking for longer and longer. And it looks so much like a pyramid scheme. And that's stay in and don't sell. And you're paying through inflationary rewards, and the whole thing just will like unravel if people start unstaking. And we want to stay away from that. You want to have a purpose for staking, and it should be providing some sort of security. And once it's sufficiently secure, you don't want to, you don't want to promote more of that thing. So
another exchange question: we need one decent exchange so people can can buy TRB easier. Don't you agree?
No, it's pretty easy. Yeah. If you guys are having a really hard time buying TRB, just let me know.
Yeah. Are you still planning a Binance chain integration for Q2? Plans to apply to Binance DEX?
Yeah, so Binance chain, they're supposedly introducing smart contracts there soon, and hopefully they do. Once some smart contracts start getting up and running on there, we'll be looking for customers and jumping over there.
And that would coincide with us being interested with Binance DEX as well.
Yeah.
Sneak peek on the plans for V2.
Just faster, better, different. Yeah. So, it's not really a secret. We want to reduce 10-minute block times. We want to be able to have more data. We're experimenting with ways to not only do numerical data, but also just sort of arbitrary data. That's probably what the V2 will focus on.
Where can I exchange TRB for E? I think this person messaged us on our Telegram, and I think he found his answer. Will you get in touch with the Tezos Foundation for a grant? I got out of their office today, and they are looking for an Oracle solution just like Tellor for their chain. That sounds great. We definitely will. I looked at their most recent proposal for grants that's ending in a couple weeks. I didn't see anything about Oracle specifically, but they were looking for smart contract support solutions, some general thing that we would fit into. And so, yeah,
we can apply. And if you have a connection there, let us know. We'd love to send an email along with.
Yeah, whoever that is, feel free to DM us. We could use the grant. For many projects, data sent from Oracles need to be confirmed quickly. Will it be improved on Tellor for more advanced use cases?
Yes, but I would argue whether they're more advanced.
It's the trilemma, you can have quick and unsecure, you can have slow and secure, and
if you need things to be crazy fast on the blockchain, you probably don't want it on the blockchain. That's the really quick answer. We're going to work to make it better and faster, just not so that way it should still work slowly on a blockchain, but like as it gets faster, all that should change is like the user experience. It gets like slightly more friendly to use. Yeah. But like your use case should still work, being sort of a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to optimize around that philosophy of security and decentralization as the foundation of however fast we can be. And we started off with 10-minute blocks as a good starting point, and we've learned that we could probably lean into that number and improve it. And there goes my computer. So we're just going to continue, improving where we can. And as the space grows, so will our ability to do so. Any collaborations or integrations on the horizon? If so, when do you expect to launch an Oracle for someone? You'll know as soon as we can tell you. We can't do a pre-announcement of anything like that.
Not really our style. So.
There are collaborations and integrations on the horizon. At least, we hope so, but there's a lot of stuff that's on the horizon, and these projects also have to deliver as well. So it's not just they're relying on us, we're relying on them as well. So stay tuned. And that is it. Any more in the chat here?
Plans for a data marketplace. Yeah, I think that's like sort of Tellor. Or
Yeah,
well,
that's
at
the
least you
mining,
can.
I think.
Yeah, so you can go request data on Tellor, but it's it's really weird because it's not like a sexy front end thing that you can look at. It's all Solidity code on the back end of like who's actually using Tellor, and it's going to be other smart contracts and smart contract devs. It's never going to be this point click thing. So that's it. But anyway, we'll be releasing that inflation article. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, that's the big news, guys.
That was the big news of the call. But hopefully you guys enjoyed everything. Just let us know if you have any other questions. Reach out, spread the news. Looking forward to talking next week. All right. Bye.